We are the cauldron of democracy and free thinking. We have the best people, we have the best army, the best navy, we are the leaders.
O Partenon diferia da maior parte dos templos da época, que consistia de uma construção hexastilo com pórtico de 6 colunas e 13 colunas laterais. O Partenon seria um octoestilo com 8 colunas por 17.
That makes the building very different because they all have basically the same proportions. When you make them larger, you simply scale up everything. To make it wider was to give it an extra dimension.
As colunas forneciam um apoio principal para a estrutura. Cada coluna consistia de 11 tambores empilhados uns sobre os outros. Como eram esculpidos, se encaixavam perfeitamente quando colocados em coluna. Para isso, o topo de cada tambor era dividido em 4 círculos concêntricos, com cada anel aplainado ou não, dependendo da intensidade necessária de fixação para se encaixar com o tambor seguinte. No centro de cada tambor, os pedreiros abriram um entalhe retangular de 15 centímetros de área e de 7 a 10 centímetros de profundidade. Depois, os carpinteiros inseriam cavilhas nos entalhes que serviam para alinhar e centralizar com o tambor de cima. O desafio seguinte era levantar os pesadíssimos tambores, sobretudo os das seções mais altas. Uma única coluna do Partenon pesa entre 63 e 119 toneladas.
A crane is an extremely simple device. You have just a boom, and then you have a series of pulleys, which, as we know, just give you the possibility of taking up a weight of, say, 10 tons by pulling down only 100 kilos.
Os engenheiros prendiam a pedra no guindaste de várias maneiras. O método mais utilizado era amarrar a ponta da corda na parte superior de um gancho de metal em S, firmar as cordas mais curtas na parte inferior do gancho e laçá-las em pequenos botões que eram deixados em bruto no mármore precisamente com esse objetivo. Normalmente eram deixados 4 botões no tambor ou no bloco de pedra, distribuindo uniformemente a força necessária para içar o objeto. As paredes dos espaços interiores deveriam ser colocadas com muita precisão, pois os construtores gregos não usavam argamassa. Para manter unidas as extremidades de cada bloco, os construtores cavavam as laterais com um desenho em T duplo. Depois inseriam bastões de ferro para mantê-los unidos. Com as colunas e os blocos em posição, os botões utilizados para içá-los eram tirados e as marcas aplainadas.
There's a saying that there are no straight lines in the Parthenon. Now, what's meant by this is that the architects incorporated a series of sort of optical illusions when they built it. It starts with the stairs, goes up through the columns, all the way up to the top of the building, the pediment, that triangular element at the top. So let's take a look at the stairs. They seem to be straight, but no, closer look, they bow in the center and they go back down at the end. Now this conceit, if you will, continues right up to the columns. This column is of the Doric order. There's no base. It seems to grow right up out of the stone. Each column has 20 flutes, which makes the column sort of undulate as you look around it. And then the column bows out in the center and bows back up at the top. This is a process called entasis.
Such long lines, which are more or less at the level of your horizon, tend to curve. So in order to extinguish this effect, they curve them the other way. So the result, again, is more harmonious and you see it as being straight. Because if it was all straight, perfect, right angles, then you will see it like that.
A principal função do Partenon era dar abrigo à monumental estátua de Atena.
Parthenon was an extremely expensive building, but the statue inside of it was almost equal in cost to the building itself, if not even more expensive.
Athena's statue was about 10, 11 meters high. That means 32, 35 feet or so. And it was of the materials gold and ivory.
Centenas de escultores criaram figuras que pareciam vivas, o que demonstra que havia talento não só na construção. O trabalho mais famoso na decoração do templo é o friso que corre nas paredes internas. Foi esculpido em baixo relevo, com as figuras muito próximas do plano de fundo. Retrata a Panateneia, uma celebração à deusa Atena realizada a cada 4 anos.
What survives on the site of the Parthenon today are the white marble remains of the building. In antiquity, not only the sculptures, but also many other parts of the building were richly decorated with paint.
Porém, nem todos os cidadãos ficaram encantados com o Partenon. Alguns consideravam o projeto de estimação de Péricles horrível e um simples monumento à sua própria glória.
Now, many Athenians hated the Parthenon, the temples. They thought it was disgusting. They thought it was terrible. Plato didn't like it at all. For many Athenians, when they saw in their holiest of holies, if you like, those new buildings coming up, buildings that had incorporated novelties, buildings that were making a break from the past.
Os murmúrios de descontentamento em Atenas não se limitavam ao Partenon. Como Péricles continuava a expandir o domínio de Atenas, seus rivais começaram a conspirar contra ele. Em pouco tempo, começaram a lançar ataques aos seus aliados. No topo da lista estava uma mulher bonita e culta chamada Aspásia, membro da elite da casta hetera e companheira de Péricles.
Hetairai were high-class courtesans, often compared, for example, to geishas in Japanese culture. Hetairai moved in the top circles in Athenian and Greek cultural life.
Em Atenas, as mulheres deviam se submeter ao domínio dos homens, mas Aspásia era a exceção à regra. Péricles a tratava como igual, e sua companheira rapidamente se tornou parte da elite ateniense.
But they became a well-known couple, and to the sort of astonishment and some scandal of the Athenian people, Pericles was even to be seen actually kissing Aspasia publicly. And of course, public displays of affection were not anything that one expected to see in classical Athens.
Em 432 a.C., após quase 15 anos de construção, o Partenon foi finalizado. Essa homenagem a Atena fez o que Péricles queria: divulgar o poder de Atenas para o mundo. Ironicamente, a supremacia que o Partenon simbolizava já estava em declínio. E Esparta, o inimigo de longa data de Atenas, em ascensão.
Once Athens had established this great alliance system, or as some people put it, this Athenian empire, and arguably that's what it became, the Spartans began more and more to look askance, as it were, at the Athenians, and eventually, by the 430s, to feel threatened by the Athenians.
Em 431 a.C., Esparta atacou Atenas. Durante 2 longos anos, Atenas resistiu ao cerco de Esparta, mas a luminosa cidade de Péricles estava prestes a sofrer o ataque de um inimigo invisível.
After a couple of years, because of the overcrowding in the city of Athens, disease that seems to have come originally from the Near East attacked the Athenian people. It's known as the Great Athenian Plague. Large numbers of Athenians died in this plague.
Péricles, então, com mais de 60 anos, sobreviveu à peste, mas estava fisicamente debilitado e sobre ele pesava a culpa pela desgraça da cidade. Em 429, com a peste e a guerra eclipsando sua amada cidade, Péricles morreu. O conflito sangrento entre Atenas e Esparta, conhecido como a Guerra do Peloponeso, continuou por mais 25 anos. Até que em 404 a.C., Atenas sucumbiu.
With the end of the Peloponnesian War, the time of Pericles and the dominance of Athens was over. Great marvels of Greek culture and Greek engineering would live on. And the irony was that the two men, the two purveyors of the fantastic legacy of classical age of Athens, were not Athenians at all. The names of these two men would be synonymous not only with conquest, but with Hellenism, the spreading of the Greek ideal of culture and value throughout the world right on up to our own modern day. These two men were Philip II of Macedonia and his son, a man who would be the envy of every single general and emperor from Julius Caesar to Napoleon to George Patton. A man who would traverse most of his known world in his short 33 years, that student of Aristotle and self-proclaimed God, Alexander the Great. I'm Peter Weller for the History Channel.